There are numerous ways to cut glass bottles, but I prefer to either use a wetsaw or a rotary tool. I'll show you a couple of the things that I do that should help you to easily get a 90% success rate, and that's without having to use any fire or glass cutters. This is a ceramic tile wet saw, and using one of these is probably the easiest way that I've found to cut glass bottles. I will post more detailed information about this particular saw on my second channel, so if you're interested, check that out. But for the purposes of this video, I would just like to mention that you should use a smooth and ideally very thin kerf blade. You don't want to use one of these types with the grooves in them, because the chattering will likely break your glass. This is what you want, and the thinner the better. Now it might look or sound intimidating to use one of these, but they're actually quite easy to use and reasonably safe as well. The premise is that this tub gets filled with water, and as the blade turns around, it cools itself off and cleans itself and makes it a lot easier to cut masonry products and ceramic products and etc. I would also like to add that these are not too expensive. You can buy these at a home center for $80 or $90, and I have put this one through tons of abuse. Sometimes glass is referred to as an amorphous solid, and what this means is simply that it lacks a definite crystal structure. This gives it some pretty strange properties that I'm sure you've noticed, but nevertheless, glass will sand just like any other material will. So ultimately, to get it nice and smooth, it just depends on how much time you're willing to put in. Using a rotary tool like this one can give you an even finer quality cut. And if you look at this piece of glass, I don't even think this was sanded. This is just a piece of bicycle inner tube. And there's more about this jig in the description. It's worth pointing out that you do not need one of the expensive Dremel brand wheels to do this. This is from one of those knockoff kits that has about 50 bits that's very inexpensive, and it works wonderfully. The copper wire works very nicely. It's easy to reposition so that you can control where the water hits the wheel. A word on how the siphon works. This consists of two pieces of vinyl tubing, a long one and a short one. The long one has been reinforced by a drinking straw, and it goes into the bottom of the water vessel. The other end of it goes to the cutting end of the rotary tool. Now the shorter piece of vinyl tubing, which you could actually do without, is for blowing into to introduce a high pressure system into the water bottle, and that will force the air out. Now you could actually do without the shorter one by instead sucking on the end of the long piece of tubing, and that would reduce the pressure inside and create the same effect, but that ends up getting water in your mouth, so it's preferable to use this. One more point that I would like to make about this is that the siphon has to be, or rather, in order for the siphon to work, the water vessel has to be higher than the end of the tubing where the water is coming out. Gravity has to be in your favor.